How's everybody doing today? How is everybody? In the wake of successive victories by the Trump administration and the red hot US economy, I've been thinking about the sort of commentary that one has come to be accustomed to when it comes to Donald Trump, not only from the media in the United States of America, but also from the media in South Africa, which I find, so the media in South Africa in particular, I find them to be so ignorant, so ignorant about who Donald Trump is and what he stands for, what his policies are. I always find them just regurgitating democratic talking points. And also the kind of commentary that you'd find from European media, and I even say that even from people that I know, people that I love, people who are close to me. I've never seen someone who is as hated as this man. No one is as hated and besmirched and caricatured and slandered as Donald Trump. And no matter what he does, no matter how successful he becomes, he just never gets any credit. We remember when when Donald Trump began this issue of these trade tariffs, which he rolled out on 60 nations, 60 economies. And at the time, you were very hard pressed to find any sort of accurate representation in terms of why is President Trump doing what he's doing. Because we need to begin there. Before you criticize a policy position, you need to first properly understand what it is, understand what it's trying to accomplish. You're hard pressed to find fair and accurate representation of why he's doing what he's doing. No one was acknowledging the fact that almost all of these nations have had long-standing tariffs on US goods, sometimes going back 40 years. So everyone just seemed to ignore these facts because they wanted to criticize him. And then because we have to look at that first before we look into whether, okay, are these tariffs a good idea? Are they a good policy action? Are they going to result in good outcomes or not? We can't start at the front of evaluating the utilitarian outcome of the policy before we talk about why the policy is necessary. To question whether the policy is necessary, yes or no. And then you find all kinds of bait and switch positions when people are talking about why these policy positions had to be put in place. And I understand that some of it's not really a hatred of Trump. Some of it is that people are making a lot of money from China and from just Asia in general. And their entire business model of how they are making money is to maintain the status quo. Get cheap labor in Asia, come and sell goods in the United States. That's the entire business model. And they cannot imagine any other way that they can make money. So it is a sort of a selfish interest for them to oppose Trump's tariffs. But then, of course, we received doomsday predictions by as late as the last week of March that these tariffs are going to result in a widespread global recession. The worst of these predictions was done by The Economist, which there's nothing economical about that magazine, making some wild predictions, which I responded to at the time. It was in April, and none of them have come to pass. And then for me, because what I found is that when I'm speaking to people who just hate Donald Trump, is that there's nothing that you can say to them that can satisfy them. And these are not necessarily Democrats. These are people that some of them they're not even Americans. They are South Africans and Europeans. And there's nothing that you can say that can satisfy them. Absolutely nothing. Yeah, and so because I also listen and watch to liberal media like CNN and MSNBC and NBC and CBS to hear their hot takes of how and why Trump's policies are bad, I often always get like sort of verbatim those criticism coming from people that I know, because it clearly seems to me, okay, they are listening to CNN and they are just basically repeating what CNN says. And I would think that for me, for someone who watches Fox News, for instance, I don't my policy positions don't depend on what Fox News says. And I disagree with Fox News on several issues. And I do agree with the liberal news also on other issues. One of those issues being Israel, by the way. So I always find it so strange. Because then the question for me is that, is there anything that this man can do that you'll ever say, okay, that this is a good thing? If Donald Trump were to tomorrow call a press conference and say, listen, guys, if we found a cure to prostate cancer and we found a cure to breast cancer. No one needs to die from prostate cancer and no one needs to die from breast cancer from here onward. As long as you have early onset and early detection, you will be completely cured, not even remission, cured. And then comes up and say some of the leading causes of some of the cancers that causes the highest number of fatalities will obviously be cancers like gastric cancer and things like that. If he comes up and say we have found a complete safe cure for gastric and colon cancer, which has killed millions of people and kills millions of people every year. Will you people actually give him credit? And for me, from what I'm seeing in terms of how a lot of you behave, is that you wouldn't give him credit. In fact, you would say, why didn't he come up with it sooner? That is how most, the way that a lot of you behave, you would find something to criticize. I don't understand this kind of thinking. Because hating someone so much really has melted your brain. I'm telling you, it has melted your brain. I can tell you now that, for instance, former President Barack Obama, for instance, I don't agree with him on virtually everything. I'll probably agree with Barack Obama on like 5% of the issues. But I do not hate the guy. And if you were to do something that I disagree with, and then I predict that it's going to go badly, and then it turns out it doesn't go badly, I would come out and say, okay, listen, I was wrong. When he does something good, I would come out and give him credit for it. And I don't think that, and the same can be said about Sleepy Joe Biden, who I think was the worst president in American history. And that also applies to every other Democratic national leader, whether it's it's Hakeem Jeffries or it's Chucky Schumer or Pelosi or any of these Democratic people who are far leftists, who I find almost zero agreement with, or let's just say less than 5% agreement with. If they do something good, something that I agree with, I would come out and give credit to them. And I don't find it to be the same with people who hate Trump. It seems to me that, folks, your hatred of Donald Trump has melted your brain. Basically, that's the only metaphor or analogy that I can use. Like, because this is just not, that is not normal. Like, the kind of hatred that you folks have for this man, it's just, when he, when the Republican Party started the criminal justice reform bill, which Donald Trump signed into law, after decades of Democrats campaigning on this issue but doing nothing about it. Did you guys give him credit for that? And the answer is no, you didn't. When Donald Trump increased funding to historical levels, to historically black and colored colleges and universities, after Barack Obama had reduced their funding, did you guys give him credit for that? No, you did not. I mean, obviously, we know that after that, Joe Biden went on to take that funding that Trump increased and take it a step further, because it became a sticky issue that how can a Republican do so much for HBCUs when Democrat presidents have done nothing for them? So then HBCUs then like succeeded from that, which I'm happy for that. But did you give him credit for that? No, you didn't. When he started opportunity zones, which were focused primarily on black businesses, did you give him credit for that? No, you didn't. Is there anything that he has done that you gave him credit for? No, no. When he was in his first term, he gave an offer invitation to the Congressional Black Caucus that, guys, come and meet with me so that we can discuss in terms of what are the particular issues that are needed by the black community in the United States. And they refused to meet him. Absolutely refused to meet him. So then the question for me is that as he's continued to score victory after victory, at what point are you actually going to give him credit? Are you going to give him credit once the United States achieve full employment? And by full employment here, this is to say when there is no American who is looking for a job but can't find a job. I'm not talking that 100% of working adults are working. No, we mean that when every adult who is in the job market has a job. Is this the only time that you're going to give him credit? Or even at that time, you're going to say, oh, but there are people who are minimum wage earners. Hasn't done enough about that. Hasn't done it. There are some people who are working, but they're still poor. They're working poor. I'm saying, at what point are you actually going to say, okay, maybe I didn't see the policy the way that he saw it. Maybe I didn't agree with it. I predicted this, but this hasn't happened. I'm going to give credit to the guy. At what stage are you going to give credit to the guy? And at what stage are you going to stop with the name calling? With the name calling of everyone, of anyone who supports any kind of his policies, and calling them all kinds of names? At what point are you going to stop doing that? Trump is winning, folks. I mean, he recently, when it comes to trade deals, the U.S. have come to an agreement with the United Kingdom, with Vietnam, with Indonesia, with the Philippines, with Japan, with the European Union, and with South Korea. And the negotiations with China are currently ongoing. When it comes to these nations that the U.S. has actually come to have trade deals with, these are the most important nations, to be honest. The EU being the biggest of them. And so when you're looking at now at the EU, Japan, UK, Vietnam, Philippines, South Korea, you have close to like 25 to 30% of the world economy. And as soon as the US reaches an agreement with China and India. That would basically take to more than 60% of the world economy. And those negotiations with those two giants, China and India, are currently underway. He is winning. He is winning. While you folks are busy hating on him on your televisions or in your like small little groups, countries are sending their negotiators to go negotiate with him. And he's winning. And I've also found that some of the most, I think for me, the problem is not just the disagreement. The problem is that a lot of it just seems to be in bad faith. It's in bad faith. It's not honest to God disagreement where you can say, okay, I hear what you are saying. Even if I disagree with you, but I hear what you're saying. It seems to me it is just bad faith disagreements. You are so determined to say that no, he doesn't know what he's doing. You are so determined to say no, he is not going to succeed. Folks, come on, folks, come on. Can we just stop this? Can we just stop this? You predicted that the stock market is going to crash. It is at an all-time high. You predicted 4 months ago that the global economy is going to recession. It is far from that. You predicted that inflation is going to be out of control in the United States. Inflation has gone down year on year and has even gone further down than when it was when Sleepy Joe Biden was in power. You predicted that unemployment is going to balloon out of control. Unemployment is down. You predicted all kinds of things that are just not happening. So at what stage are you going to come out and say, okay, listen, I was wrong? And it's okay to say you were wrong. Or are you just so committed to your hatred for this man? Is that it? Your hatred for this man is the only thing that matters. And you are not going to hear from me that this man is beyond reproach and blameless and all of that. I've stated here in this channel several times where I disagree with Donald Trump and how I disagree with him. And these are very, very strong disagreements that I have with him. One being on the issue of Israel and another being on the issue of South Africa, my nation. To the point where when it comes to the issue of South Africa, I even said for the first time that I actually think that Donald Trump is a racist. And I was speaking to some folks who was astonished that, is this the first time that you think that he's a racist? They said, yeah, this is the first time that I think that he's a racist because his actions when it comes to South Africa can't be explained rationally in any other way other than racism. And that doesn't mean that I'm not going to give him credit for every good thing that he has done and every good thing that he does. So I have some very, very strong disagreements with Donald Trump that affect me personally. But I don't have a mindless hatred of him that makes me like put me into a frenzy when it comes to evaluating any of his policies. I mean, come on, folks. Come on. Anyways, yeah, let me know what you think. Thoughts below.